The woods were alive that summer, buzzing with insects and heavy with the scent of pine needles. 3 children, inseparable friends, ventured into their depths, their laughter echoing through the trees. 12-year-old Peter, the responsible one, kept a watchful eye on his younger companions, Jamie and Adam. They built a fort, their imaginations running wild with tales of knights and dragons. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees, a sense of unease settled over them. Jamie and Adam vanished. Peter, his heart pounding in his chest, called their names until his voice was hoarse. Only silence answered him. He stumbled through the woods, fear gnawing at his insides. The trees seemed to close in around him, their branches like grasping claws. He emerged from the woods, his clothes torn, his face streaked with tears and dirt, but his friends were gone. The police searched for weeks, but no trace of Jamie and Adam was ever found. The tragedy shook the small Irish town, leaving an open wound of grief and unanswered questions. Peter, the sole survivor, was haunted by the memory of that day, the whispers of the woods forever etched in his mind. He carried the weight of their disappearance, the guilt and the unanswered questions, like a stone in his gut. The woods became a place of fear, a silent sentinel to a tragedy that refused to be forgotten. Years later, Detective Rob Ryan, still haunted by the disappearance of his childhood friends, would find himself drawn back to the place where his nightmares began. He would soon discover that the woods held more secrets than he could have ever imagined. 20 years later, the woods still held their secrets close, shrouded in an air of mystery that seemed almost palpable. The trees had grown taller, their branches intertwining to form a dense canopy overhead, creating a natural fortress that guarded the past. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a reminder of the passage of time and the secrets buried beneath. Detective Rob Ryan stood at the edge of the woods, his breath catching in his throat as memories flooded back. He could almost hear the echoes of children's laughter, see the flash of their brightly colored shirts through the trees, as if the past was reaching out to him. But it was only the wind, rustling the leaves, playing tricks on his memory, making him question what was real and what was imagined. Rob had tried to outrun his past, to bury the memories of that summer deep within himself, hoping that distance and time would heal the wounds. He changed his name, moved to Dublin, and joined the murder squad, seeking solace in the pursuit of justice for others, hoping to find redemption in his work. But the past had a way of catching up with you, no matter how fast you ran, no matter how far you went. The call came in on a rainy Tuesday morning, the kind of day that seemed to echo the somber mood of the news it brought. A young girl, 12-year-old Katy Devlin, had been found murdered, her life cut short in a brutal and senseless act. Her body was discovered at the edge of the woods, posed carefully against an ancient oak tree, her blonde hair spread out around her like a halo. A hauntingly beautiful yet tragic sight. The details were chillingly familiar, echoing a past that Rob had tried so hard to forget. The location, the age of the victim, the eerie stillness of the scene, it all whispered of another murder, one that had haunted Rob for 2 decades, a shadow that never left him. He was assigned to the case, a cruel twist of fate that seemed almost too coincidental to be true. His partner, the ambitious and fiercely intelligent Detective Cassie Maddox, sensed his unease, the way he stiffened at the mention of the woods, the way his eyes darkened with old pain. "You're going back to the woods, aren't you, Rob?" she asked, her voice low and steady, filled with concern and understanding. Rob met her gaze, his own eyes reflecting the storm clouds gathering overhead, a mirror of the turmoil within him. "I have to," he replied, his voice rough with unshed tears, the weight of the past pressing down on him. "This time I have to find out what happened," he said with a resolve that was both a promise and a plea, a determination to finally uncover the truth. The investigation into Katy Devlin's murder was like navigating a labyrinth of twisted paths and dead ends. Every clue seemed to lead them deeper into a maze of confusion, where the lines between truth and deception blurred. The small town of Knocknaree, nestled on the outskirts of the woods, seemed to close itself off to the detectives, its inhabitants tight-lipped and suspicious. The town had an air of secrecy, as if it was protecting something or someone from the prying eyes of the law. The more Rob and Cassie dug, the more they realized that beneath the veneer of normalcy, Knocknaree harbored a darkness all its own. It was a place where old grudges festered and hidden sins lay buried just beneath the surface. They interviewed Katy's family, her friends, her teachers, piecing together a picture of a bright, well-liked girl. She was a star student, a talented dancer, and a beloved daughter. Her future had seemed so promising. No one seemed to have a reason to hurt her. The townsfolk were bewildered, their faces a mix of confusion and fear. They couldn't understand why such a tragedy had befallen their quiet community. The Devlins, their faces etched with grief, were shattered by their daughter's death. Their home, once filled with laughter and joy, was now a place of mourning and sorrow. Katy's best friend, a shy girl named Jessica, provided a crucial detail. She was hesitant at first, her voice barely above a whisper, but what she revealed sent chills down the detectives' spines. She told them about a man Katy had been afraid of, a man she'd seen lurking in the woods. This man, with his shadowy presence, had become a figure of nightmares for the young girl. As Rob and Cassie delved deeper into the investigation, they uncovered a web of secrets and lies that stretched back generations. The town's history was marred by scandals and betrayals, each more shocking than the last. There were whispers of ancient grudges, of forbidden love affairs, and of a darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the seemingly idyllic town. Old photographs and letters hinted at a past that the townsfolk would rather forget. The woods, once a place of childhood adventures, now seemed to press closer to the town, a silent witness to the secrets hidden within its heart. The trees, with their gnarled branches, seemed to whisper of the horrors they had seen. Each new piece of evidence, each dead end, only deepened the mystery surrounding Katy's death. The detectives felt as if they were chasing shadows, always just out of reach of the truth. Rob found himself drawn back to the woods again and again, searching for answers amongst the trees. The forest seemed to call to him, its silence both a comfort and a torment. The air was always thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, a smell that had once meant freedom and adventure, but now carried the bitter tang of fear and loss. The mist that hung in the air seemed to cloak the forest in an eerie shroud. The woods watched him. He was sure of it, their silence a constant reminder of the secrets they held and the friends they had stolen from him. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig felt like a whisper of the past, urging him to uncover the truth. The investigation took its toll on Rob. Every day felt like a battle, each clue a double-edged sword that cut deeper into his psyche. The case stirred up memories he had tried so hard to bury, memories of childhood innocence lost and the enduring pain of unanswered questions. Each photograph he examined seemed to pull him further into a past he wished to forget. He found himself plagued by insomnia, his nights haunted by nightmares of that summer day in the woods. The darkness of his room mirrored the darkness in his mind, a place where sleep offered no refuge. The faces of his lost friends, Jamie and Adam, swam before his eyes, their laughter echoing in his ears. The forest, once a playground, had become a labyrinth of sorrow and regret. His partner, Cassie, noticed the change in him. She saw the weight of the past pressing down on him, a burden he could no longer carry alone. She saw the haunted look in his eyes, the way he flinched at every sudden noise. It was as if the ghosts of his past were always lurking, ready to pounce at any moment. She recognized the signs of a man teetering on the edge, consumed by his own demons. Cassie knew that if he didn't find a way to confront his past, it would consume him entirely. "You're too close to this, Rob," she warned him one evening, her voice laced with concern. "You need to step back, let someone else take the lead." Her words were a plea for his sanity, a desperate attempt to pull him back from the brink. "You need to step back, let someone else take the lead." But Rob couldn't let go, not this time. The case had become more than just a professional duty, it was a personal crusade, but Rob couldn't let go, not this time. This case was different. It was intertwined with his own past, his own unresolved trauma. He had to see it through, had to find out who killed Katy Devlin, even if it meant confronting the ghosts that haunted him. This case was different. It was intertwined with his own past, his own unresolved trauma. He had to see it through, had to find out who killed Katy Devlin, even if it meant confronting the ghosts that haunted him. The lines between his professional and personal life blurred, making it impossible to separate the two. He had to see it through, had to find out who killed Katy Devlin, even if it meant confronting the ghosts that haunted him. The investigation took a toll on his relationship with Cassie. She was patient, understanding even, but she couldn't fully comprehend the depths of his obsession, the way this case had burrowed under his skin. The investigation took a toll on his relationship with Cassie. She was patient, understanding even, but she couldn't fully comprehend the depths of his obsession, the way this case had burrowed under his skin. The more Rob became fixated on the past, the more distant he became from the present. She was patient, understanding even, but she couldn't fully comprehend the depths of his obsession, the way this case had burrowed under his skin. The more Rob became fixated on the past, the more distant he became from the present. His memories, once fragmented and blurred, began to sharpen, revealing details he had long suppressed. The more Rob became fixated on the past, the more distant he became from the present. His memories, once fragmented and blurred, began to sharpen, revealing details he had long suppressed. He started to question everything he thought he knew about that summer, about the disappearance of his friends, and about himself. His memories, once fragmented and blurred, began to sharpen, revealing details he had long suppressed. He started to question everything he thought he knew about that summer, about the disappearance of his friends, and about himself. The line between past and present blurred, the woods becoming a battleground for his sanity. He started to question everything he thought he knew about that summer, about the disappearance of his friends, and about himself. The line between past and present blurred, the woods becoming a battleground for his sanity. Each step he took in the investigation felt like a step back in time, a journey into the darkest corners of his mind. The line between past and present blurred, the woods becoming a battleground for his sanity. The investigation was no longer just about finding a killer. It was about finding himself, about piecing together the fragments of a shattered past.